I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on GBN, we uncover the raw and shocking true story behind an amazing book. It is called Allie and Sally Cousins of Atrocity. They started the fire that will never burn out. It is written by a terrific author. Her name is Karen Sue Kiey. This jaw-dropping tale exposes a tangled web of lies, betrayal, and courtroom corruption, centered around a family torn apart by false accusations and hidden skeletons. With gritty detail and unwavering resolve, the author delivers a powerful account about how one phone call changed everything. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put her on TV today, and we ask viewers like you to support authors like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her amazing book. The links are below this interview. Karen, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure to have you on the show. This is a terrific book. It is a true story, which is just amazing. Let's go back to that phone call that changed everything. What happened?
Well, it was early in the morning, and Don and I were both sleeping, and my mom called, and um, Don answered the phone, and he came back to bed and just went back to sleep. And I said, "Well, what was that?" And he said, "It was your mom. Brian's been arrested." And right then, it just sends a shock through you. And I said, "Well, what for? Where is he?" And he said, "For child molesting." And when that word hits you, it hits you hard because you hear it, but it hasn't been at home yet. You know what I mean?
It's one of the worst things you could be possibly accused of. Child
Yes,
molestation, murder, and rape are the three worst crimes you can be accused of. And here it is, your brother. And you know your brother, you love your brother, you know his character, and you say to yourself, this can't possibly be true, right?
right.
So Don is a private detective. You are his assistant. So tell us about how your backgrounds in working in PI helped unravel this case.
Well, we were Ron's private investigator, and we had the whole investigation. We worked for a year on the investigation, and we knew everything. And to me, being the assistant, I knew Brian was coming home after the trial. And that's, what I thought, how the court, because I'd never been in the court system before.
You expect it to work fairly. You expect an innocent person to be found not guilty. Let's go back to the accusation. Who was accusing your brother? And talk to us about what he was accused of.
Well, it was his now ex-wife's cousin, Sally. It was her son, who at the time was 14 years old, and he accused Brian they were at a family party. And at the time, Brian knew his marriage was getting rocky, but he was trying to work on it. And so he went to this family party, and it was a Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday morning. Everybody was leaving. And Brian and his family left Sunday morning and didn't think nothing was wrong. And then I think it was on Wednesday, all of a sudden he got the call to go back to Muck County. And they didn't tell him why he was going to Muck County. They waited till he got down there.
The sheriff's office or the police department call him and request that he come back?
The sheriff's department, it was the lead detective who had called Brian and asked him to come down.
And what was the accusation? That he had groped this young man, or what was the accusation?
Well, when he finally got down there, they sat him in a room, but they had locked doors behind him.
Mm.
And they sat him in a room, and they told him what he did. And at the time, Brian, he was in this interrogation. He'd never been in that situation before. And he had two detectives that were determined and screamed at him and would tell him, just tell us but he was told that he did this to Mateo. And he kept on saying, oh my God, I hope not. Oh my God. But he wasn't himself in this interrogation because he'd never been in that situation. And they just harped on him and harped on him. And then they would tell him, well, tell us you molested Mateo and we'll let you go home. And from that point, they took him into custody and they arrested him.
Basically, they bullied a false confession out of him with the fake promise that if you tell us what we want to hear, we'll go easy on you and let you go. We'll cut you loose.
I believed it was bullied. The lead detective did testify that he was trained in interrogation not to quit until you get what you want.
Yeah. Even if it's not the
And
truth.
well, and then Brian also had it. His now ex-wife's family, Allie's family, was what I thought was tight-knit family and very religious. And Brian kept on saying, "Oh my God, the family! Oh my God, the family!" He had it embedded in his head. You got to protect the family.
Yeah. He was very, very frightened. So he's brought into custody. How long is he kept in jail the entire time? Is he released on bail? How long until his trial? Tell us that part of the story.
Well, they kept him overnight and they put him on bond the next day.
Mhm.
And the trial wasn't for a year. So we had a year to do the investigation.
And what did you find out during the course of your investigation?
We found out that, um, well, what happened right after Brian came home on bond, Mateo's mother, Sally, took the police report and passed it around town. You know, we live in a small community, and that family's been here for a long time, and my family's been here for a long time. But she took the police report and told everybody that they had DNA. And, there was one point where I told Brian, I said, if we had a town square, they would have hung you in it.
Yeah.
Um, and
She went around basically trying to gin up support.
Yes,
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
was, she's the type that was looking for sympathy.
Yeah. Explain to the folks at home who Allie and Sally are.
Allie is Brian's now ex-wife. They were married in 2002. There's a 16-year difference, and I guess that caused a problem for a while. And Sally is Allie's cousin. So they're both part of the tight-knit family.
Do you feel they
And
were looking to put Brian in this situation for reasons of custody, for reasons of leverage during a divorce? What are your thoughts?
my thoughts are they set out to destroy him, and Allie wanted his material possessions. I mean, Brian wasn't rich or anything, but she set out. We were told by some of her friends that she would use, if you wanted for advice, she would use, if you want a divorce and keep everything, you just accuse your husband of child molesting. So that's what made me think that she wanted the material possessions.
Amazing, amazing. So tell me about Brian's trial and how that went.
Well, the trial was to be a 5-day trial, and it was 2 days long.
Mhm.
And on the third day was closing arguments. And by noon, Brian was in handcuffs and shackles and convicted of being a pedophile. And his attorney never defended him.
Mm.
And he was proved that he never defended him. We turned him into the Office of Lawyer Regulators, and they said he did not defend Brian.
Yeah.
We had 16 witnesses all ready to go. Don was ready to be on the stand for at least a day, and none of that happened.
What what was his sentence?
Well, he was, well, it was a child molesting. I can't remember the exact
I'm just
sentence.
saying, how long was he? Well, how long did he wind up spending behind bars? How long was he incarcerated after the conviction?
6 years.
6 years.
6 years. But just before the trial, the prosecutor had talked to Brian and said, Brian, just say you did this. And Brian says, no, I'm not going to say I did it because I didn't do it.
Right,
And the next day, his one charge turned into four charges.
right.
So therefore, he had spent 6 years.
Amazing. Did he ever get released on appeal or did he just serve his time? Tell us how, has the case ever been overturned? Tell us about that.
We had several Mockner hearings. We kept going back, finding reasons for the Mockner hearings, which are wrongful conviction hearings.
Hmm.
And each time the prosecutor would do her corruptness.
Yeah.
And I think it was like, I think we had four Mockner hearings and we lost each one. And so he did end up spending the 6 years in prison.
And so what's his life like post conviction? What's his life like after being accused of a horrible crime after spending 6 years in jail?
Um, when he came back, the first thing he tried to do was reconnect with his kids. His kids were 8 and 11 when he went away.
Hmm.
So, you got to realize his mindset, 6 years in prison can do a lot of things to your head.
Yeah.
And he came back, and all of a sudden, the last time he's seen his kids, they were little. And he comes back, and now basically they're adults.
Hmm.
And we tried to stay in contact with his kids to keep them just on our side of the family, to let them keep knowing that they have us as family.
Yeah.
Well, Allie didn't like that, and she put an end to it
Yeah.
basically from the beginning. So we didn't see the kids either, me, Don, or my older brother. And he came back from prison, tried to reconnect, but with the manipulative way Allie is, these kids spent 6 years knowing what their dad did.
Thinking what their dad did or being told that their dad was an evil person, that their dad was a child molester. So they basically been alienated from him.
Yes.
Yeah. Awful. Awful. Till this day, has he been able to rekindle any kind of relationship with them?
He tried to help the older one is his son. He tried to help him. He's 20 now, 21. And so this started about a year ago. Brian came back, and Brian was really good with his hands and building. I mean, he could build tractors, snowmobiles. He fixed all that stuff and built his house practically. So he tried to help his son and helped him get property, a house, fixed it up. And then he turned around and said, no, mom's coming now. And that completely excluded Brian. But his daughter, he has contact with her. It's not closeness, and Brian can feel like a emptiness in both his kids.
Sure. I'm sure it's a terrible, destructive thing that's happened to them, happened to him, and happened to you. I understand your family endured some threats and violence during this situation.
Yes. One evening we were home, and we had seen Allie's car driving on our road when it was towards evening, and we had come home and we were inside the house just doing normal evening things, and Don all of a sudden heard something on the back door. He wasn't sure if it was knocking or not, but and we had a big 120-pound dog at that time, and my youngest son was still living at home, so he was here. But Don went to go see who was at the back door. But to get to the back door, you have to come down like a block long driveway and go to the back where it's all dark. So they went to the dark part of the house and knocked on the door. And Don answered it, and it was two men from Allie's family, and they were acting like they were lost. And luckily, Don didn't open the door. And he just told them, no, there's no restaurant around here. You have to leave, and which they did.
Right, right. The scary incident, you don't know what they had planned or what would have happened if your husband opened the door. So it is a frightening incident. Now, I understand that the defense rested in your brother's trial without even calling any witnesses at all, or tell us what happened.
Yes, it was a 5-day trial, and after 2 days, um, Brian's attorney did rest.
Hmm.
And he, like I said, Don was ready to be on the stand for at least a day
Yeah,
because he did the whole investigation for a year. And Don's, what he does for a living is he's a private investigator.
right.
And so he had everything there that we could have proved that Brian was innocent.
What are some of the things that Don uncovered that would help prove Brian's innocence?
Um, well, first of all, there was no DNA, and that was never brought up in trial. And let me see.
Yeah. Well, the lacking DNA is a big thing. So it basically came down to he said versus what he said. Did Mateo ever testify at the trial as well?
Yes, he did. He testified at trial. Mateo gave 3 interviews. The first one was right after this all happened.
Mhm.
And then he gave a stepwise interview. And then he testified at court.
Mm.
And each time was 3 different stories. He
Yeah.
had 3 different times, 3 different stories. And nobody, when he was testifying, ever stopped him
Yeah.
from saying, hey, you just gave 3 different times
Right. Right.
or 3 different stories.
Yeah. But that's where your ineffective assistance by counsel claim comes in. And it doesn't sound like Brian did receive a rigorous defense at all. What was it like in the community? I know you said that lies were spread around about Brian around the community purposefully. What was it like living in that small town during this time when your brother's accused of a horrible crime?
It was bad, but a lot of people didn't hear about it. But the ones that did, they basically damned Brian because it is such a horrible crime.
Yeah.
And and these people using child molesting is just absolutely horrible when there are children being hurt.
Yeah. And
And
it tends to be a big move by um, parents in custody cases and divorce cases to accuse the other parent of something awful that is almost impossible to disprove. So these things do happen, and they're seen a lot in courtrooms, and they become kind of an awful strategy on the parts of manipulating spouses, right?
yes,
Yeah.
um, and for our court, the assistant district attorney, she had Brian convicted even before
Yeah.
we had our court. Um, yeah, so she basically had Brian convicted. So, it's like I don't even know why she went through the movements of court because she had her mind made up.
Well, the prosecutors are only interested in one thing, having a strong prosecutorial record. They don't really care about guilt or innocence, unfortunately. And you've seen that time and time again that people have been wrongly acquitted. Are you still hoping that one day your brother will be exonerated?
Yes, we are working on it. We are trying to get it back into court um, and get him a new trial.
Hmm.
We're working on that right now. Um,
Yeah. What was it like writing this book, and why did you decide to write this book?
I decided to write one lady who I was talking to, because we had a group in the community that was supporting us, and she just says, "Oh my gosh, Karen, you have to write this stuff down. You have to write a book." And I said to myself, I don't know how to write a book. I barely made it through high school. I didn't know if I could write a book, but I started it, and writing a book is hard. Everything gets all jumbled up in your head, and um, so I was working on it, and then one day I was outside. We have like a little hobby farm, and I take care of that. And I was outside, and my dog didn't see me, and I didn't see my dog, and he came around the corner and smashed into my ankle and shattered it.
Mm.
And so I have to thank Max for giving me 3 months to write the book. So yeah, so I was laid up for 3 months with my shattered ankle, and I worked on the book.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, sometimes out of bad situations, good things happen. So you broke your ankle, but you wrote the book. And I think it's going to help a lot of people out there who are struggling with wrongful convictions and false accusations. What's the message you hope readers take away?
Well, the message just in the beginning was just it's a horrible crime. I mean, children are actually getting hurt. It's horrible crime, and to be, once it's in your family, you just start thinking about it and start thinking about it, and it is just horrible. And what so my initial thoughts on writing the book were just for me and my family to clear us.
Yeah. What was Brian's reaction when he learned you were writing the book?
He was all for it.
Hmm.
I didn't start writing it till after he was released from prison. And when he was first released from prison, we didn't talk to him right away because his mind was different after being in prison. And it took a while, and he came around, and I just told him that he was all for the book.
Yeah. Good, good. I'm glad he was supportive, and I hope it's helpful to you in clearing his name. Whatever became of Allie and Sally? Did they get their comeuppance in any way? Was there any karmic justice at all so far?
No,
Yeah,
after Brian first went to prison, all of a sudden Allie had her house, but she still had the two kids,
yeah,
and she moved her boyfriend right in
yeah.
to Brian's house, and I think it was 4 kids back then.
Amazing, amazing.
And Allie from the beginning, nobody knew this, but she did lie a lot. I don't
Yeah,
want to say habitually, but she lied, and she told Brian she couldn't have any more kids, but all of a sudden that's what she wanted, and her boyfriend end up having number 6.
amazing, amazing. What do you think should happen to people who do file false claims and false charges and make false accusations to authorities like this?
Well, it wasn't so much. I mean, I don't think there's anything you can do about them,
Hmm.
but the and I'm not saying all court systems, but the court system down there allowing them to lie.
Yeah,
Um, Mateo, gave 3 different stories,
yeah,
and each one was different.
right.
And by the time he got to court, he had a completely different story from his first interview.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. Even the judge at that point could have stopped the proceeding and said, hey, this is completely different from what we heard during his, interrogation or deposition or whatever the case might be. But obviously that didn't happen. Did your brother have a court appointed attorney?
No, he hired one.
He
But
hired one.
going back to stopping and saying that, the judge, he was horrible.
Yeah.
He didn't listen to anything our side said, and he only listened to what the prosecutor said. And he was very obvious in his bias towards us. because he would, look at the prosecutor's table and listen, and then he'd turn and look at us, and his face would just change.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
mean, anybody who's dealt with the criminal justice system or even the civil justice system can tell you that the proceedings are not fair. The judges generally have their mind made up based on the papers before them, and that is reflected in the way they conduct themselves in the courtroom and the way the jury perceives the entire proceeding. It's not fair. I don't know what a better system would be. But in small towns in particular, often the prosecution and the defense attorney are working hand in hand. One wants to work for the other guy's office, and it's a terrible situation. What was it like writing this book? Did it help you heal? Was it tough reliving it? Tell us about that.
it was tough reliving it, but when I got to the end and it was done, it was a weight off my shoulders. But when I added on to there the fire that will never burn out, I did not know how big that was because today it's still going on. It's going to be hard for Brian to get out of this, and it's going to be with him for the rest of his life.
Yeah. Has Brian ever considered like a reboot, like completely moving out of the area and getting on? I mean, I guess also he has to probably register as a sex offender as well, right? So it's almost
Yes,
hard to do that reboot.
right now he's on probation. I think it's for 12 years, and he has to live in the area where he was convicted.
Ugh, awful,
And
awful.
he's got the ankle monitor on, and that's the ankle monitor is a flawed situation too.
Yeah.
That it sometimes doesn't work, and Brian's always ready for that knock on the door when his ankle bracelet malfunctions. He's been hauled back to jail, I think, twice now because the ankle bracelet malfunctioned.
Awful, awful. So he's out of jail, but he's still not free. He's still in this prison that is built around him by the system. I wish you a lot of luck in your efforts to exonerate him. And this book, I think, will be a great first step towards that as more people read about what happened in this grave miscarriage of justice. The name of the book is Allie and Sally, Cousins of Atrocity. They started the fire that will never burn out. It is a bold and gripping true life saga of justice denied and courage found. Karen, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Well, thank you.
I appreciate your insight, your wisdom, and the strength it took to come before our cameras today and talk about your brother's situation. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford for the Global Book Network. So long for now.